Today's video is slightly different to what you may see on the Guitar UK channel. This isn't a new product, this isn't anything that, has had like a revamp or anything like that. It's a particular amp that I just want to spend a little bit of time, and in all honesty, just kind of like gush over a little bit because I just absolutely love it. The amp in question today is the Orange Rockerverb 50 Mark III. Now, the Orange Rockerverb is actually celebrating its 21st anniversary in 2025, and this Mark III iteration might be one of the best amps if you are a fan of, a big style valve amp, but need complete versatility and something that can do anywhere from super chimey cleans all the way to like doom metal. I'm not going to spend much time in this video going over specs such as valves and the kind of, like all the innards and stuff like that. If you do want to read a little bit more about that, I will leave a link in the description down below. It'll take you right to our website and you can check that out. But what I want to do is just spend a little bit of time going through some tones of this amplifier. So let's kick off with maybe the main event, which is probably the distortion here. Now, I'm just going to play it just as it is, as it pretty much kind of like comes right out the box. Everything pretty much at noon at the moment. That seems to be the kind of sweet spot, I think, for something that's quite usable across the board. But like any good distorted valve amp, as soon as you throw a bit of an overdrive in the front of that, it changes it all the way and gives it like a supercharged sound. That was actually just an Ibanez Tube Screamer with all the gain turned down and the level there. A classic trick for anybody who uses high gain distortion amps. And I chucked on just a little bit of delay from the Wampler Catacombs there. But speaking of like inbuilt, kind of like time-based effects, the Rockerverb 50 actually comes with a valve-driven spring reverb put into it as well. Now this sounds absolutely awesome and it is foot switchable as well, but I'm just going to turn around, turn it all the way to the top, and let's move on to the clean channel just to really hear what this is doing. Sounds absolutely lush. Now, if you want to try that with your distortion as well, it actually doesn't get too much in the way, and it's one of those things I always find about amps that have got a reverb built into them. That sometimes when you start to crank that, it can kind of just like totally engulf your note, and just like, especially, you know, if you're playing solos or anything like that. But certainly with this amp here, it doesn't like get too much in the way, which I really, really love about it. Now, I know what you might be saying. You might be saying, Kieran, I can't play a full 50 watt valve amp in my flat, or my neighbours will come round and phone the police on me and they'll take all my music gear away. But don't you worry about that, folks at home, because probably my favourite feature about this amp, and it isn't even anything really to do with the sound, but it is the fact that this amplifier has actually got an inbuilt attenuator in it, which means that you can drive the volume of whatever channel that you're using. So for example, if you want like the highest headroom possible, you stick it on the clean channel, you turn the volume up, but then you back it off with the attenuator, allowing you to really, really cook the amp, but without actually having the volume. And it's what allows you to be able to, you know, cook the distortion channel as well, because we all know that a valve amp sounds its best, certainly when it is loud, but a lot of us don't have the options for that, which means that, you know, if you are using this in a venue, that you don't need to compensate on your tone. You just need to turn up the attenuator just that little bit and the sound guy will be more than happy. And the attenuator is actually foot switchable as well, along with the reverb, and of course the channel selector as well, which means you can obviously kick that on if you do need it as like a volume boost or something like that. Maybe don't have it too much of a difference, because, you know, that will give some people a fright, or certainly the sound guy will just end up muting your channel at that point. But if you kind of look at it as a bit like a volume boost for like a solo, that's absolutely awesome. But seeing as though we're talking about Orange here, one of the things that I certainly know them for, and it's not just that super cool high gain there, which was great for a multitude of genres, but Orange to me, you know, they're that big, huge, kind of doomy sound, you know, if you're so inclined, which is why I'm going to get this Les Paul right now. This is tuned to drop D, and I'm just going to play some big sludgy riffs on it. Yeah, a slightly different style of video as I said at the start, but I really just wanted to highlight this amplifier. Get used to seeing this a little bit more in our videos. But let me know down in the comments what you think about the orange Rockerverb. Have you tried one yourself? Are you familiar with any of their other amps? Is that big doomy sound just exactly what you're looking for? I'd love to know. And while you're down there, give us a like and a subscribe because you can keep up with all the latest news at Guitar HQ. But until next time, I've been Kieran and I've just been spending a little bit of time with the orange Rockerverb 50 Mark III. Have a great day.